This video workshop contains pointers for the over 50 job seeker. Many older job seekers ask this question: is my age keeping me from getting a job? Well, there are two answers to that question. One is maybe, and the other is maybe not. People think age discrimination is not a problem. But if you do some research, you'll find out that it's actually a problem and something to be concerned about. Mostly, an older job seeker faces the same challenges as all other job seekers out there. Most people who are attending this session want to learn specific strategies for job searching as an over 50 job seeker. Yes, there are some different things you can do, but mostly your challenges are the same as everybody else out there. The more you learn about job search techniques as a 50 and over job seeker, in general, the better prepared you will be. I urge you to watch as many of these workshops as you can. It will help prepare you. Or you can go to your local Michigan Works office, and they can also help you prepare. It's important to learn about companies and their hiring practices, as well as how the economy has impacted their hiring practices. The more you know, the more prepared you will be, no matter what age you are. Here are some statistics about workers over the age 55 and what we can expect to happen in the future. First, as you can see, over 16 million Americans over the age 55 are either working or seeking work. Second, by the year 2015, the number of employees over 55 will reach a record 31.9 million. There were only 18.4 million in the year 2000. This means, eventually, as the economy improves, many of these older workers will begin to retire, and we could see a labor shortage, which will lead to many job openings. These statistics tell us that there are currently a large number of older workers out there, but eventually we will see many of them retire, taking their work experience with them and leaving many open jobs. There is also good news for the older worker, as it is predicted that between 2002 and 2012, the number of workers aged 55 and older is expected to grow by 49%. While at the same time, the number of workers under the age of 55 will grow by only 5%. As the workforce ages, employers who do not want to make an effort and attract to retain older workers may have difficulty finding qualified workers. This is an increasing concern among employers as they look beyond the current economic downturn and plan for future growth of their businesses. It also means that as time goes on, the older, more experienced worker will be in higher demand as there are not enough young workers with experience to replace them. But that economic turnaround is not yet in full swing, and this and other factors have changed the attitudes Americans have about retiring. As you can see here, 80% of baby boomers say they plan on working forever. They want to stay active and not retire. Many baby boomers don't see themselves retiring to Florida and spending the rest of their lives doing nothing. They want to stay active and involved, and one way of doing this is to continue working. Many times there's an economic necessity to keep working longer. Unfortunately, with the current state of today's economy and the impact on people's retirement savings, there is an economic necessity for many older people to keep working. They can no longer afford to retire, and some who have retired are finding that they need to return back to work just to make ends meet. So now we have an understanding of what the older worker faces and what the future may hold. Now let's consider the issues facing the over 50 job seeker. People perceive an age bias and/or discrimination. This is a very real problem in the job market today. And despite the law says that you cannot discriminate based on age, employers do this all the time, and they know how to get away with it. The problem of bias and age discrimination is often ignored and rarely prosecuted. The second one here, battling myths of maturity. As an older job seeker, you have to know the myths and stereotypes people have about you and plan to deal with them in your resume. Be prepared for that in your interview and in every step of the job search process. The next one, skill gaps. The most obvious area where we see skill gaps is in the area of technology. It's really important that you spend time getting up to speed on the current technology so a potential employer does not see this lack of skills and pass over you for a position. This not only is referring to computers and their use in the workplace, but also cell phones, texting, social media, and other current technologies. Lack of knowledge of the labor market and job search techniques. And lastly, you need to make sure you get up to speed on the current state of the labor market and how to go about searching for a job. One of the ways to fight age bias and discrimination is to know about stereotypes, myths, and beliefs employers have about older workers. Once you have that information, prepare to show a potential employer how these do not apply to you. Here are a few of the stereotypes and myths that older workers face. Older workers are less competent. How can you prove that you're not less competent? Include on your resume and mention in the interview how you have advanced in previous jobs, specifically promotions, maybe raises, and increasing your responsibilities. Another one you can see here is people being fixed in their ways, also known as inflexible. Show how you've learned how to do a job or task differently. Learn a new method, process, or system. Adapted to a new supervisor or accepted new rules, policies, and procedures. The next one we see here is not being a team player. It's important to demonstrate to the company examples of times when you've collaborated with a team and talk about the value of everyone pulling together to accomplish a task. Next, lack of technology skills. Sign up for classes to show employers you are up to speed. Talk about your on-the-job training that you have done, especially in technology, and make sure you have an email address on your resume. Talk to your grandkids to learn more. The next one you see here, less capable of evaluating information, making decisions, and solving problems. Be ready to describe problems you have solved, situations you have overcome, and decisions you have made at work, and how you did it to help the company. The key to combating these stereotypes and myths is to be ready to deal with them by giving examples of how you have worked in the past to bust these misconceptions and make the employer realize that they don't apply to you. Now let's look at job-seeking strategies you need to use as an older worker. First, as you can see, the current job market and the most up-to-date techniques for finding a job have changed dramatically since the last time you were on the job market. Watching workshops like this and others available for you at your local Michigan Works and elsewhere are absolutely necessary for you to gain the knowledge to become a successful job seeker in today's job market. Some older methods of job search techniques still work, but you have to use a combination of methods to be successful. Some people still find work in the newspaper, but there are many new ways of finding jobs online, including company websites and others that you need to learn about and employ in your job search. Networking and referrals is still ranked number one as a job search method. So get in touch with everyone you know and let them know you are looking for work and what you want to do. You never know when someone may have a lead for you that could land you a job. You also need to be careful when you build your resume. Here are some things you need to consider. Don't let them know your age. Do not include your high school graduation date. If you would like to include your college date, that's optional. There are outdated resume styles and jargon. What you were formerly taught is probably outdated, so sign up for a resume writing class today. Resumes of mature workers should contain evidence and qualifications as well as accomplishments. When building your resume, keep it focused and relevant for the job you are applying for. Remember, the one-size-fits-all technique does not work for all resumes. As you can see here, the first thing you want to do when making a resume is make sure it does not exceed 2 pages. Do not do a life history resume. Only include what is relevant for that job. Next, we have the rule of thumb, which is a standard rule. Only list 10 to 15 years previous work history. Beyond that, the employer doesn't usually care. Don't use outdated industry terminology or jargon. Moving down the list, it's important you list all courses and professional development activities that indicate willingness to learn. Companies like to see that you're willing to learn new things. And finally, absolutely list computer and technology skills, as well as showing them you have an email address. Before you sit for an interview, there are several things you need to consider and plan for as an older worker. There is a good chance you'll be interviewed by someone of the younger generation. Try to understand them and think from a perspective of this younger person. The next one you can see here. You should honestly assess your appearance. Do you appear up to date? First impressions are critical to interview success. In most situations, companies will assess to see if you have the standard of with-itness and vitality, which means that you're able to demonstrate flexibility and adapt to the younger generation. Be prepared with examples from your work history that show your experience, success, and competence. Counter stereotypes by conveying you are versatile, adaptable, and ready to do things differently. Convince employers that your experience is an advantage because experience makes you wise in problem solving. Emphasize your ability to work with multiple age generations and your delight at working with people of all ages. Play it safe. Just in the case of resumes, interviews have changed since the last time you've had one. So it's a good idea to watch an interview skills workshop, or you can attend one at your local Michigan Works to help you prepare and know what to expect for in an interview today. I understand it's hard to find a job no matter who you are. But if you have been looking for a job for a long time without success, maybe it's time you stop and ask yourself a few questions. Am I blaming my lack of job search success on my age? Do I have the up-to-date technology skills or other relevant skills to compete in the job market today? Do I understand the current labor market and hiring practices of employers? Am I dated in terms of appearance and demeanor? And the last one is very important. Do I really need to work full-time, or can I pursue part-time casual work? Or start as a volunteer while I keep looking for full-time work? These are some things you should consider if you're struggling in your job search. So finally, we all know the reality. Michigan has one of the nation's highest unemployment rates, which means it's an employer's market. Your competition is fierce. It is your responsibility to convince them that you are the best, most qualified candidate for the position. Again, it's your responsibility to demonstrate that. So do everything you can to understand the job search process. In order to be successful, get out there, promote yourself, sell yourself. You can do it.